This is an introduction to the variation forms. We're going to have a few different videos covering each of the different ways that variation forms are different from each other. So I'd like to talk about the history of this way of treating music. First of all, it comes from the Renaissance period, when the musicians would play in courts. The music would be very repetitive and monotonous after a while because they would play the same thing over and over again with no variation. So they figured that if they played just the chord progression or the melody line or something like that, and then each time they repeated it, they changed some aspect of it, it made it a little bit more interesting and less boring. So that's how it arose out of necessity, and from there music took on a more serious role. So I'd like you to think about maybe some of the different examples of a theme and variations, and how they might differ from each other. There are three main ways that I'm going to highlight. I'll highlight these ways in this video, and then we'll talk about each aspect individually. I'll play examples. Now, in general, the theme and variations is not viewed as quite as serious as like a sonata allegro form or a third rondo or something like that. It doesn't always have to be the case. There are some very big pieces of music, the Schumann, the symphonic etudes, the Bach Bisogni Ciccone, and in fact I'll be playing part of that as an example in one of the follow-up videos. So let's take a look at the three main ways that the theme and variations can be different from each other. So here I've highlighted the three different ways that we can treat the theme and variations. So first of all, we take into consideration what element is repeated versus the elements that are changed. So sometimes there might be what we call a basso ostinato, or which is essentially a bass melody line that's repeated. The harmony might change along with it. The scope or length of the theme, or going back to number one, that might be contrasted with a chord progression. So that same harmonic progression is repeated each time, but the melody along with it changes, or the rhythm or something else. So number two would be the scope or length of the theme. This used to be considered the primary way, or by many musical theorists, as one of the main ways that the different forms change, and it still can be the case in many instances. But the scope or length of the theme, maybe eight measures versus 16 measures, that can dictate the way that it can be treated. So then the third way is the way that the variations are actually organized. Sometimes there might just be one theme, or even just the first part of a theme that's repeated, and then in other examples we might have like double variations where two themes alternate. And like I said, I'll play some examples of that. But so these are the three main ways. We'll also look at specific forms that incorporate the variation forms. Interestingly, in larger form theme and variations, some of the rondo forms are actually used with just a theme and variations as the aspect that, or with using the rondo forms as a skeleton. And then we'll also look at the Ciccone and the Passacaglia and other forms later on. So